I know you've probably thought about it before, and yes, it's very likely that Stripe and Trixie will get divorced in Bluey's 4th season. And even though it might sound a bit exaggerated or like too heavy a topic for Bluey to tackle, the truth is, there are plenty of clues pointing to this actually happening. So let's take a look at why Stripe and Trixie might be getting divorced in Bluey's 4th season. Stripe and Trixie are not exactly the best couple in Bluey's world. They've been criticized for spoiling their daughters, for how they raise Muffin and Socks, and for plenty of other things. But the most important thing is that they haven't been as united as, for example, Bandit and Chili. In fact, they're the complete opposite of Bluey's parents. Stripe and Trixie argue right in front of their kids, and both of them deal with issues that make their relationship even harder. For example, we know that Trixie struggles with controlling her anxiety, and Stripe, being the younger brother, is still learning how to be a good partner and a good dad, according to Bluey's official page. But it seems like all of these challenges are getting out of hand. Trixie keeps showing more and more frustration towards Stripe, and poor Stripe is just a few stripes away from exploding from all these fights. This has only created tension in their relationship. Tension that could end in a heartbreaking divorce. And I'm not just saying this for drama's sake, guys. There are several clues that show us how Stripe and Trixie's relationship has slowly been falling apart. Faceytalk was the first episode that showed us this dysfunctional side of Stripe and Trixie. In this episode, Bluey and Bingo are video calling Muffin and Socks. Muffin starts going wild and Stripe starts chasing her all around the house, which makes Trixie upset, and they start arguing about how to raise Muffin. But during this argument, Trixie gives us a huge clue. She complains that Stripe is almost never home. But even with this disagreement, we still see them end up hugging and fixing the argument. It seemed like just another life lesson Bluey wanted to teach us. There's a fight, they work it out, and everyone's happy. But no. This episode told us way more than we expected. Did you notice how calm Muffin was while her parents were about to jump into the ring? That's not normal behavior for a kid watching her parents fight for the first time. Muffin is already used to seeing them fight all the time and just sees it as normal. And we're not just saying this just to stir up drama. There was another clue that only a few people caught. Even Bandit himself wasn't surprised by their argument. His attitude was like, "Oh yeah, they do this all the time. They'll get over it." It wasn't like when Chili and Bandit disagreed in the episode Postman, and Bluey was completely shaken over that tiny argument. Bro, Bluey even had to come up with an entire plan to get her parents to make up. And that disagreement wasn't even that bad. Compare that to Muffin and Socks, who don't even seem to care anymore. The next set of clues, which are even more obvious, come from the episode The Sign. Here, things go way beyond simple fights. If we piece together all the little actions Stripe and Trixie have when they're together, we realize they're already in a very, very toxic marriage. Not just for them, but for their daughters too. And seriously, the 5 scenes we get of them in this episode are so uncomfortable to watch once you really pay attention. For example, when the girls are rehearsing for the wedding, Clumsy Stripe blurts out a secret about Rat to Frisky that he wasn't supposed to, and Trixie ends up getting mad at Stripe for running his mouth, and thanks to him, the wedding almost got ruined. We know this because after Stripe spills the beans, Frisky tries to call Rat. But in the background, we can see Stripe and Trixie, with Trixie scolding him for what he told Frisky. Yet another fight. And wow, we see Trixie really angry this time. But instead of apologizing or trying to fix it, Stripe just gets mad, turns around, and leaves. And if you pay close attention, Stripe's frustration isn't just in what he says. You can even see it in the way he rolls his eyes at Trixie. This wasn't like Faceytalk, where they talked, fixed the misunderstanding, and shared a loving hug. Nope, this time it was more like, whatever, I'm so done with you. And if we compare this to Bandit and Chili in the same situation, I'm pretty sure it would have gone completely differently. Chili probably would have been more understanding with Bandit and suggested they work it out together. At no point would Chili just sit there grumbling and nagging without actually trying to solve the problem. Plus, Bandit would have accepted his mistake and apologized, just like when he treated Bingo badly or when he stole her chip. But with Trixie, at this point it feels like she's just looking for reasons to fight with Stripe, without ever reaching a solution. After this, it's pretty safe to say that Stripe and Trixie probably didn't talk again until the wedding started. But this is just the beginning of them truly not being able to stand each other anymore. Because once again, when Frisky throws the bouquet, we see Stripe leap to catch the flowers, and Trixie just looks at him with this face full of disappointment and embarrassment, almost like she regrets being with him. This makes it pretty clear that Stripe is just an adult who acts like a kid and just wants to have fun, something that doesn't connect with Trixie at all. I mean, are they even compatible? But it seems like the two of them want to stay in this toxic cycle of fighting and pretending nothing's wrong, even though we can clearly see the relationship is on its last legs. The perfect example is when everyone is sitting at dinner. We see Trixie acting as if nothing happened, sitting next to Stripe after their argument, trying to keep up appearances in front of everyone and pretend they have a happy marriage. And that's why I'm telling you, this is toxic for everyone. Even though they try to pretend they're fine, it all falls apart again over something silly. Right after they're completely drunk, we see Socks imitating their toxic arguments, while in the background, Stripe and Trixie are having yet another fight. And if you pay attention to what Socks is acting out, it's exactly the same thing Stripe and Trixie are fighting about. And once again, they stay mad, and Trixie just walks away. But just a few scenes later, we see them dancing like crazy, even though they were just fighting. What? So yeah, the relationship is basically screaming divorce. It's not normal to fight every 5 minutes, and all of this happened in just one episode. I cannot even imagine what happens when we're not watching. And the biggest clue that they might actually get divorced is right at the end of the sign, where Stripe gets completely wasted and Trixie just leaves him there, not even caring that he ends up passing out in the bushes. So most likely, after all the arguments and fights with Trixie, Uncle Stripe has turned to alcohol just to forget his family problems. All these clues suggest that fights like this have happened many times before, and that this is what most of their days look like. Maybe this is why Stripe prefers to work more than be at home. And if you ask me, yes, I think it's very possible. But how did they even get to this point? Isn't the whole idea that you marry and have kids with the person you love the most? We just need to take a closer look at Stripe and Trixie's personalities to realize they were never really compatible. Let's start with Stripe. Stripe is more of a free spirit who wants to party, keep enjoying life without commitments, and without anyone telling him what to do. Even in Faceytalk, Pizza Girls, or Sleepover, they made it super clear that he doesn't really want to look after his daughters. In Faceytalk, he just wanted to lie down and scroll on his phone. In Pizza Girls, we saw that he only buys Muffin and Socks toys to keep them entertained and out of his way. And in Sleepover, well, that one speaks for itself. As we can see, Stripe was never meant to be the model family man, unlike his brother Radley, who actually matured very well. Or Bandit. Well, Bandit has basically been Chili's simp, which is probably the only reason he's not a complete disaster. But back to Stripe, this guy really tests your patience. He would have been better off single, living as a ladies' man, since he's barely ever home anyway. Trixie, on the other hand, is more like a traditional mom who just wants a nice family life, a house, a car, and maybe someone to help her clean. Trixie definitely chose the wrong guy to be the father of her kids. I bet she never imagined he'd be this difficult. Another thing we can say about Trixie is that she really struggles with patience and self-control, which makes her clash with Stripe even more. If you noticed, she's almost always the one starting the fights. And hey, I'm not saying it's wrong to disagree with your partner, but Trixie crosses the line because she always wants to boss Stripe around, to make him do exactly what she wants. And of course, this is bound to end in fights, because Stripe, with his childish behavior, never admits when he is wrong and always tries to justify himself. Maybe at first, Stripe did try to work things out. That's why we see them reconcile in Faceytalk. But after this happens day after day, obviously Stripe would get tired of trying to fix things. So, Trixie has become less and less tolerant of any problems, whether they're marital or even family issues. A clear example is when she forced Muffin to wear the cone of shame to fix her bad habit. And that was way too extreme for a 3-year-old kid. Another example is in The Sign, where we saw that Trixie didn't even try to be understanding with Stripe, she just snapped at him. So, it's pretty clear that both of them are reaching their breaking point. The sad part is that they're not taking into account that Muffin and Socks are watching all this toxic behavior. Like I said before, maybe at first the reconciliations were genuine, but eventually Stripe just went along with it to avoid more problems and to give Trixie what she wanted, just to keep the peace. Kind of like giving her a bone so she'd stop bothering him. And Trixie, for her part, seems like the type of mom who puts up with all of this for the kids and to keep the marriage looking good on the outside. But is that actually healthy? Honestly, it's a hard topic for a lot of people to understand. The answer is very clear, but it's hard for many to accept. Some of you might have your own theories, that Stripe and Trixie are just going through a rough patch and that they'll fix things and stay a happy family. Plus, the creator Joe Brum has said he only wants happy stories for the episodes, no tragic ones. So that means Stripe and Trixie will stay together, right? Well, I don't think so. Just because Joe Brum says he wants happy stories doesn't mean he won't include tragic moments in the episodes. In fact, he's already done it, and with topics that are pretty heavy for a kids show. Some examples are Winton's dad's divorce and the separation from the terrier's mom. Maybe it wasn't super obvious or explicit, but the story is there. It really happened in the show. We even saw the terrier's dad as a homeless man on the streets. Or the little bird that died in the episode Copycat. That was such a sad topic that it even hit adults hard. Or all those times Bingo was mistreated and it broke our hearts to watch her suffer. Those were not 100% happy stories. They were heartbreaking moments that stuck with us, and some of us still cannot watch them without tearing up. So yeah, we already have plenty of examples that show Joe Brum does like adding drama, even if it's heavy stuff. That's why Stripe and Trixie's divorce feels like a very real possibility. If we compare it to all the sad moments in Bluey, it fits perfectly. Just think about it. They're stuck in a loop where they fight, make up, and each time it just gets worse. The fights are getting stronger, and they're both running out of patience. And not only that, these fights are clearly affecting Muffin and Socks. But with a divorce, or even just a separation, they might finally get enough time apart to reflect and breathe. There are plenty of couples who live happier this way. They can't stand living together, but when they live apart, they actually enjoy each other when they do meet. Maybe then Trixie could have a lot more patience with Stripe, like Chili does with Bandit, and Stripe might finally mature after reflecting on what happened. Maybe their divorce will be like Bluey's other background stories, not completely explicit, but full of clues that let us know what happened. Let me make it even simpler. Think of Winton's dad's divorce. First we saw the suffering, then he had his process, and in the end, he found happiness with his new partner. With Stripe and Trixie, we're still in the suffering stage. Their process would be the divorce, and maybe therapy. And their happy ending would be either finally being together without fighting, or just being happy living their separate lives, so Muffin and Socks can grow up in a healthier environment. We even have an example with Judo, who spent some time with her mom and some time with her dad. Besides, Stripe and Trixie are two adults who probably won't change unless something big happens, and in this case, that big event would be the divorce. If they stay together and somehow fix things, I'm 1000% sure that eventually they'll relapse and the fights will start all over again. And I really don't think they'd be selfish enough to leave their daughters traumatized by these constant, pointless fights. This way, Joe Brum's formula of having a happy ending would still be fulfilled. And even though it might be hard for some of us to accept, sometimes in life we have to make tough decisions like this in order to keep moving forward and finally be happy. But what do you guys think about this theory? Do you think Stripe and Trixie should get divorced? We'll be reading your comments.